Thank you for inviting me. I always like to enjoy the crowds that love to be around airplanes, and especially that beloved P-47. We all loved it, but it took a little time. When we first got checked out in that airplane, most of us said, it's too big. It feels like it's going to kill me. And about 30 hours later, you loved it. And you felt like you were indestructible. You were going to last forever. I joined the group when they were at Lyon Couperon in France. We came over as replacement pilots, and we did a little bit of training at Shrewsbury, which was an RAF base in England. And then we came across the channel shortly after D-Day, so we didn't participate in that. But they needed us badly in the 366 fighter group because they had such tremendous losses around D-Day and shortly after, supporting the ground troops. And when we joined the group, the armies were moving forward towards Germany, and what I did was fly 51 missions, and 50 of them were dive-bombing missions. That's all we did. The typical mission would be 2 500-pound bombs, 8 caliber, 850 caliber in the wings that would come together 250 yards out in front. Not come together, converge is a better word. Converge 250 yards in front of the plane. And my most memorable mission, I guess, was a strafing mission. We'd already dive bombed, done something like in a railroad yard or something. I don't remember every mission. But this one I remember because while I was strafing, I got a direct hit in the tail of the airplane and another hit in the belly of the airplane. And luckily, I was able to hang on to the stick, even though that shell, it was a cannon shell, it was either 20 millimeter or 40 millimeter. It either severed the cable that controlled the elevator trim tab, so I had no help holding that baby in the air. And but I was able to keep from hitting the ground, and the flight leader, I was the wingman of the flight leader, he said, well, it doesn't look good. He says, get up to about 1,000 feet if you can, and I'll check it out, check the damage. And when he checked the damage, he says, you better bail out. He says, I don't think you can fly that plane back to the base. And my reply was, but it's my first airplane and I love it. I don't want to bail out. Up until that time, he just flew different guys' airplane. But one of the original guys had gone home and they gave me his airplane. He loved me. He thought I was a good wingman, he got me his airplane, B-20, the 390th Squadron. So he said, all right, if you're going to go, if you want to stay with it, I'm going to tell you to go up to about 3,000 feet and practice landing up in the sky and see how I can handle it. And so I did it, and it was okay, it was just hard. But on the way back to the field, my arms got so tired holding that thing in the air, like this. I had to put both feet up on the instrument panel and put my arms across like this to hold that stick to keep that baby in the air. And I landed it okay, and after I landed it, the crew chief was amazed. Those crew chiefs, they just loved their airplanes. The crew chief only took care of one airplane, and he loved it. And they were really devastated when the guy didn't make it back when he got shot down. But he took a picture of the airplane, and then he had me stand in that hole in the tail. Yeah, Mike. You could tell it was an explosive shell the way it's exploded up there. And this is my class. get around to that next picture, I'll explain that a little bit. This is a picture of my little class at Cal Aero. The weather was so bad down here in October, about November, December. We were here for 4 months. The weather was so bad that we had to move out to real close to what's now Edwards Air Force Base. There was a little auxiliary field out there that wasn't really an airfield. They used it for testing cars. And I can't remember the name of it. But we lived in those tents. You can see a couple of them in the background. And that's my kid brother, the front one on the left there, squatting down. My kid brother and I went all the way through training and combat and stayed in the Guard after the war. He retired as a major and I retired as a lieutenant colonel. And that's me up there in the back row, second coming in from the right side. And the guy next to me was a full-blooded Eskimo just to the left of me, full-blooded Eskimo. If I have a lot of time, I tell you another little story about him. He washed out at Brookfield, but what a good guy he was. So that's my little brother, and that's me. And the only other people in that picture was, well, I don't want to waste a lot of time. Don't make it, that's a long time. I'm getting short of time, all right?
All right. Was that El Mirage field that you're talking about next to Edwards?
It was something like that. I can't be sure if it was El Mirage. I just don't remember. But we lived in those tents and made out of mess kits, and that's what we did. Marty can probably tell you a little bit more about it. He was out there too. He's younger than me, and he's got a lot better memory. Anyway, let's see. I had another exciting. You want to hear about me shooting down 2 Focke-Wulf 190s?
Yep. Yeah.
Oh boy. Anyway, the typical mission was to go out with their 2 500-pound bombs, and there's always a flight leader. His wingman is my squadron call sign was Relic, so everybody with 398 was Relic Squadron. And the different flights had colors, like I was Relic Red, my flight I was in. There was about maybe 12 or 14 pilots in the flight, as I remember. So on this particular day, it was also the only day in my 51 missions that I ever had to jettison my bombs, because I didn't like to jettison, I like to kill people on the ground with them. But on this particular mission, we were a 4-ship flight, and we were ordered to go to a certain area, check in with the ground controller. His call sign was Sweepstakes, and say, "Have you got any targets for us today?" And on this particular day, he says, "There's a lot of German air activity." Oh, also, it was the first day of the Battle of the Bulge. It was called the Battle of Ardennes before they gave it the Bulge name. The Germans had started doing the attacking and whatnot. They had put a lot of airplanes up. And we dive bombed something, but I can't remember exactly what it was, when we spotted a big gaggle of German airplanes and American planes dogfighting up in the sky. Somebody called it out to my flight leader, and he said, "Let's go get them." And anyway, I got on the tail of one of them and gave him a short burst and saw some pieces fly off the plane, and then the plane went over like that, and it just went down and down and down and down and crashed on the side of the road. What made that particular mission memorable was, after that happened, I was all alone with all this dogfighting going on. And you're really not supposed to be alone. You're either supposed to be a wingman for somebody, or you have a wingman that's watching out for you. And the way our flight leader said to us, "Let's go get them." So all 4 of us shot down at least one plane, and then I shot another one down, because after I shot that first guy down, out of self-preservation, the first thing I thought was I don't have anybody protecting me, my tail. I went up underneath the overcast. I knew nobody could attack me from above. And I called the leader and I said, Relic leader, this is Relic Red 3. I'd been the element leader that day. And I said, I shot one down and I'm circling around underneath the overcast at the east end of the Bingen Lake. And he said, I'm chasing a Focke-Wulf 190 and I got two of them on my tail firing at me. He says, help me if you can. And like a miracle, about 5 or 10 seconds later, that's what I see going by me. All I had to do was throttle back a little bit on my throttle so I wouldn't overshoot him, and just go down and kind of coast up behind him and squeeze the trigger, and I shot one of those guys down. The other one took off, but the one that I shot down popped his chute immediately, bailed out, and I called it out to the flight leader. His name was Cullinan. I says, Cully, I got one and he just bailed out. Should I kill him? And he says, no. He says, they'll probably come down behind our lines. Let him go. But for that mission, that was only my 13th mission, he put me in for the DFC. They gave it to me about a month later, which was unusual for an amateur on leave to get a DFC. Usually they give you one when your tour was over, and they find a little reason. Oh, he was a good pilot, to find something to give him the DFC. So I felt real good about that. That was my one and only dogfight. Let me think of another exciting ground strafing. Oh, there's another important one. Am I boring you? Okay, I got two more good ones. I'll try not to make them too long. One of them was, one day we were out there, sweepstakes told us what to do, and we did it. And, gotta think a minute. There were a bunch of bad guys, the ones that wore the black uniforms. I think they were SS. I think they were called SS, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, we've been strafing these guys. And I was pretty sure I got a hit on my airplane because I knew I got hit. I didn't know how bad it was. I smelled, what do you call it, when cartridges explode? I can't think of that word.
Cordite.
Yeah, I could smell cordite. Something had exploded right near me, and I could feel the plane shuddering. But I did what I had to do, and as I pulled up, the engine quit. So, when the engine quits, all you can do is think of getting out of the airplane. But I was flying a brand new P-47, not the Razorback, the bubble canopy. And when they shipped those, well, I'll tell you the rest of the story. When I went to bail out, I called it out. I said, this is Relic Red 3. I'm hit, I'm bailing out. There was no place to make an emergency landing. It was hilly with trees and stuff like that. I'm bailing out. But the procedure to bail out, everything is connected. You've got an oxygen mask, you've got a wire for your earphones. It's all connected. And when we get in the airplane, the wires and the oxygen and everything goes down between your legs and then comes up like this. So to bail out, you make your announcement, and then you open the canopy. When I opened the canopy, it didn't open. We had an emergency release. It was supposed to go back and fly away. This canopy went about that far, and it was stuck. It didn't do anything else. And I still have my helmet on, because that's the last thing you do is take it off and throw it between your legs. So when I couldn't get that canopy open at that moment, two different guys on the radio said, Sandy, switch your gas tanks, switch your gas tanks.
It was just the gas.
I was almost hoping that it didn't start. I felt so stupid. So anyway, I switched the gas tanks and the thing fired right up. And I was really bashful when I landed, I'll tell you that. But that was not an unusual occurrence. It happened again at another mission when the squadron CO, Colonel Smith, a West Point graduate, was leading a flight, and he did the same thing. He made a beautiful speech, and he says, "Kelly, I want you to take over the flight." He says, "I'm going, I'm gonna have to bail out. I'm sure I'll make it. Call my wife when you get back, or write her, tell her I'm okay, and I'll see her at the end of the war." And then a couple of voices said, "Smitty, switch your gas tanks." It worked. We made it back. We didn't have to wait till the end of the war. He stayed with us until the end of the war anyway. But those are the two that I can think of. I don't want to be a kid.